Well, Adam Marshall's Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce, one of those organisations calling for urgent agreement on transition arrangements to give businesses certainty. Very good evening to you. Why are you wanting urgency in these negotiations?
Well, what we hear from businesses is that the end of the year is an important milestone for them. Those who are planning for contingency, for example, if they have to change their people strategy, their investment strategy, etc., tell us that really it's the first quarter of next year when they need to really take those decisions and they become irreversible. So getting on to transition talks and trade talks as soon as possible really is important to UK businesses.
It's obviously important, but the European Union are also very, very aware of that. And as a business leader, you must be aware that when it comes to negotiations, they know how desperate we are to try and get there. Surely, at what cost, then? Are you asking the Prime Minister, say, to sign a blank cheque to get there?
No, absolutely not. And we know that there are a lot of complex dynamics going on in these negotiations. But we talk to our counterparts in European business organisations all the time, and they say to us, they too want to focus on the practicalities of trade. They too want to get on to the nuts and bolts of how we continue to do business. So I think we'll see pressure not just on the UK side, but on the European side as well to get that transition very much on the table so that businesses can get on and do what they do best, which is trade.
And have you seen anything today that persuades you that that is becoming more likely? Theresa May adamant that that was more likely.
Well, I think there has been progress in recent weeks. We've had progress in the UK with the government now saying that a transition period is important with a unified voice and that we need to move the costs associated with adjustment to the end of that transition period to give both businesses and the public administration in this country time to prepare for what is really, truly a big generational change. So that, I think, is positive. We've also seen some movement from colleagues in the EU as well, more noises about transition, more noises about the importance of getting on to the nuts and bolts of trade. This is a long process, it's a slow process, and we're trying not to contribute to the noise but focus on the goal, which is getting to that outcome as quickly as possible.
Do you think it's possible that the European Union, for them, this actually isn't about money, that they are prepared to accept a certain level of financial hardship because at stake there is a principle that they want to defend, and that might, well, leave them worse off?
Well, I am not in the minds of European political leaders, but I do speak regularly with European business leaders, and as I say, they're just as keen as we are to get to a deal, and they have influence over their national governments too. At the end of the day, people's livelihoods, people's jobs, people's ability to prosper in the future depends on getting a good deal. I think we should make a really, really good effort at it.
And just lastly, we're not many weeks away now from the budget. You've made your budget submissions to the Chancellor today. What do you want to see from Philip Hammond?
Well, I'm fond of saying that the best possible Brexit deal in the world wouldn't matter if we don't have the right environment for growth at home. So we've said to the Chancellor today, you need to focus in on the nuts and bolts of doing business in Britain. Things like making sure that the infrastructure projects that have been promised actually get delivered. Also bringing forward investment as much as possible. The annual investment allowance is currently £200,000. We've said to him, raise it to £1 million until Brexit and get our small and medium-sized firms investing. And then finally, and most importantly, drop the upfront costs on business. So business rates, getting a cancellation of that big business rates rise penciled in for next spring has got to be a priority.
And just very quickly, do you think he's the right man for the job? Because the recent cabinet meeting was described as a job application from every member around the table to be the next Chancellor.
Well, I don't speculate on what goes on around the cabinet table, but I do know that those asks have gone into the Chancellor and we expect a practical response.
Adam Marshall, Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce, thank you very much for your time this evening.